What's up, everybody? Welcome to Smidge Above Average CrossFit Masters Guy. Wanted to check in with everybody and have the topic today of nutrition. It's kind of important, like a smidge bit. It's a touchy subject. It's kind of like talking about religion or politics. Nutrition is very close to everybody, and it is, in reality, something we deal with many times any given day. So, I figured I'd kind of start off with what CrossFit believes the most accurate prescription is for nutrition, and that would be to eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. That last one's tough, especially if you know me. That's tough, but I have done it for extended periods of time, 3 months. I've done a lot of things for 30 days. I've done several things for 3 to 6 months, and I've done something for well over 5 years. And so again, back to what CrossFit said, the prescription of what you should eat is try to keep it a whole food. Try to keep it real food, not processed things that you would buy in packages at grocery stores, but think the edges of the stores where it's fresh. That's the stuff you want to eat. And I'll make the statement again of what they say to eat, and it's really in an order of priority. So you want the primary food that you intake to be meats and vegetables. After that, nuts and seeds, and some fruit, little starch, no sugar. So that is the prescription. As far as how much you eat and the balance of that stuff, that's where the starting point per CrossFit and their methodology is something that Dr. Barry Sears came up with quite a while ago. I want to say in the late 90s, or maybe even early to mid 90s. Dr. Barry Sears created a program called The Zone. And that is not necessarily what you eat, but the balance of whatever you are eating. So staying in the zone is getting 40% of your nutrition from carbohydrate, 30% from protein, and 30% from fat. That is kind of the benchmark starting point, and Dr. Barry Sears, came up with those numbers based on scientific research. Actually, when he was a kid, several of his uncles died of heart attacks. His father ended up dying of a heart attack, and as a very young child, I think the story is around 10 or 12 years old or something, after several of those folks had passed, he decided, I'm going to become a doctor and decide what's going on with this. Well, he ended up doing that and figured out that if you eat the correct balance of foods, meaning 40% carbohydrate, 30% protein, 30% fat, you will maintain homeostasis. Generally, the human will maintain homeostasis at that 40-30-30 balance. That said, it doesn't necessarily matter what you eat, but if you combine, this was according to Dr. Barry Sears, CrossFit found if you combine real whole foods, eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, with the zone prescription of balance, 40% carbohydrate, 30% protein, 30% fat, that will get you peak or optimum fitness levels and create adaptation in your system faster than anything else. And they had done that through research, through actual athletes, and doing it and talking about the 2001 to 2005 range when CrossFit was really getting started. They had a lot of exercise, and Greg Glassman did a lot of testing with his athletes and telling them this prescription, and it worked really well to those who could follow it really well. So for me personally, I started the zone, learned about it, and started trying to do it with weighing and measuring my food to make sure that you're hitting the right percentages. It takes a little while to figure out what all is in what, and you got to understand blocks and know how many grams of protein, fat, and carbohydrate are in whatever you are eating. Adding it all up, weighing and measuring, knowing exactly what you're putting into your body, so at the end of the day you can say I had X grams of protein, X grams of fat, X grams of carbohydrate, and you can know you really want to get every meal to be that 40-30-30 balance. There's also some other data and some other things people like to follow, specifically macros, which is more just in any given day you need this much protein, this much carb, and this much fat. But what I found works best for me is if I can hit every meal at 40-30-30 or relatively close, I stay in the zone and I feel a lot better. And that's kind of the idea. You feel good when your body's at homeostasis. When we over-ingest carbohydrate, which is very common in our society, your pancreas has to release a lot more insulin to counteract all of the sugar that goes into your bloodstream, and that it does so, release lots, and then as it starts to come back down to normal, it has gone so far above, there's this little rebound effect where it has to go back down before it can kind of come back. And that back down below normal is where we feel like crap and feel tired, just don't feel good. So if you can eat 40-30-30 and just kind of ride this flat line as far as hormone levels throughout your body, it's pretty much a better day, and it's good. So there's hours of conversation that could happen around this, but I just kind of wanted to get out what I have found from my experience over the last, since 2012 when I started using the zone. More recently, I've gotten into other things like intermittent fasting. I've been doing that for a little over 4 months now. I do the 1 day daily intermittent fasting, so I try to fit everything in a 6-hour window. A lot of times it ends up being 7 hours, but 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. is my feeding window, my goal. A lot of times it ends up being 8:30 or 9 p.m. with kids and practices and getting home a little later and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I'm always just trying to read and understand and see what's going on, and then I try stuff out and test it on myself to see what kind of results it gets. The zone, really good. I've literally been doing that one for close to 8 years. I can kind of weigh and measure in my mind and get a ballpark to know I'll at least feel good when I'm done. Eating whole foods, absolutely. The more real stuff you eat, the less processed stuff you eat, the better you will feel. And now the intermittent fasting, my purpose for trying that was I had read a lot of research that overall it's just really good for longevity, because the bad cells that you may have in your body die off quicker in a fasting state. Potentially none of this is proven, but this is the theory. And anything I say on here is just my opinion. But bad cells can potentially die off faster. The good cells regrow, and as every 7 years, all the cells in your body have regenerated or changed over. So if I can make the better cells stronger and make the weaker cells die off, I'm in to try that. But the primary 2 reasons I had started it were for optimizing performance. Found several high-level CrossFit athletes, Rich Froning, Josh Bridges specifically, those two both did blood work. Didn't change any of the food they ate, just changed the window of when they ate, and did the daily down to a between 6 and 8 hour feeding window and a 16 to 18 hour fast daily. And they both experienced almost a double in testosterone production, like from a 350 to 400 to a 7 to 800 on testosterone level. They've both also experienced significant reduction in inflammation in joints and nagging injuries and stuff that they had. So I have been doing it for 4 months. I did not get blood work done prior, so mine is just from feel. The only thing I had for until about a week ago, I have 2 young kids in elementary school. Everybody gets sick every fall multiple times, and happened to my family again, like usual, because my kids are in school with 1,000 other children. So everybody gets colds, and my whole family has gone through at least 2 of those and a couple other random sicknesses, and I've made it through every single one of them. Never got sick. Now all my family was healthy, and I got a cold about a week ago for the first time since I had been doing fasting, and I was very surprised, and that's the reason I kept doing it, is it seems to have boosted my immune system as well. Now recently I think some other factors came into play with why I received a cold. Specifically, been really busy and probably pushing it a little too hard on all sides and not getting enough sleep, and I think that was my challenge. So if I can get that dialed back in and stick with a 6 to 7 hour window, I feel like it's really done some good things that make me feel good. And that's the bottom line. You should do something with your nutrition that you try it out. You know you could be better, so you figure you give it a little bit of a shot. And if it feels better, then that is your incentive to continue to do it. That's kind of how I've started everything. I always force 30 days, because you're not really going to know anything in a day or a week or something like that. You need to force 30 days, make it a little bit of a habit, and once you have done that, then you know if you want to continue to do it or not. With intermittent fasting, for me, I was like, I'm only going to do this for 30 days, because also, if you know me, I love to eat. The eating thing is very high on the charts of things I like to do. So, but I was just feeling good after 30 days, so I kind of continued, and then it was 60 days, and then it was 90 days, and now I'm over 120 days, so it's, I don't know, seemed to like it. I'm going to keep doing it for a little bit, but just wanted to touch base and talk a little bit about that touchy subject of nutrition. See what you guys think. Feel free to comment below if you have any things that you have noticed that you liked, or different opportunities in the nutrition world. I'd love to hear your thoughts and see what you've done as well. Thanks for listening. Peace.